Dun, 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 dun. Good morning. Good morning, Debbie Doodah.
Good morning, Bertie. How are you doing?
Live. And welcome everybody to 10 at 10. Thank you for joining us, if anyone's joined us yet. Or if you're watching on the replay, it is great to have you here today.
We love you. We love you. And we're going to talk about money again, like double money chat. Because we talked about that last week, didn't we, at 10 at 10?
We did.
And we ran over time and people were asking loads of questions and we didn't have time to finish off all the questions. So we have a money rollover in effect.
We have a rollover it is. It's a rollover week.
A money rollover week. So we wanted to carry on delving into the juicy topic of money, giving our advice and you asking questions and kind of giving feedback. So where did we get to last week, Bertie?
Last week, in summary, we were talking about that money doesn't necessarily bring happiness. Money should always be the result of the good work that you're doing. So you really should be enjoying your business, enjoying the process, because money is ultimately always just the result of that stuff. Interesting, I've had lots of follow-on conversations this week about the same thing, because there's lots of examples out there of people chasing things for money, etc. And it always leads to unhappiness. And I think, you always get that odd anomaly where you can say, oh, well, that person did it. But essentially, it's just like gambling, right? In the same way that, one person wins the lottery doesn't necessarily mean that you've got any chance of doing it by buying a ticket. It used to be 14 million to 1. Now it's a lot higher. Now they've got the extra balls and things like that. So
extra
balls. That's what we were talking about last week. And we had a few questions, didn't we, really following on from that? Because, the other thing we were saying, sorry, I'm really going on now, Debbie. It's the Bertie show today.
Come on, Bertie.
I forgot. The other thing we were saying was, giving away things for free can often devalue your service as well. So there has to be this, you have to get comfortable charging your fair rate for the things that you're offering, either your product or service. And that's something you do need to get comfortable with. And that led on to a question. I think we were just dipping into that when we'd gone like a few minutes over. And the question was, Doodah?
So Victoria Branch asked, what about your lead generator being free? Does that devalue your lead generator? So for those that are like, what's a lead generator? It's when you go on somebody's website and there'll be something that says, sign up to my newsletter and you're going to get 5 top tips to build a happy business, or you'll get 10% off your next purchase, or something like that. Generally, it's a training, something like a PDF, or on my website, I've got like a free Facebook mini course and a guide to building a happy business. And what we were saying about that was, it's not for free, is it? Because there's a transaction that happens when you give somebody that, they give you their email address.
Exactly. So, and people recognize that transaction, even though it's not technically, even though technically it's free, as in free from a cost, they are already anticipating what the result of that is. It's like, well, hang on, I'm going to sign up now for Debbie's top 5 social media tips. And if I don't know Debbie, then it's like, well, is she going to be bombarding me with emails trying to sell me a 3997 course?
If only.
Yeah. The answer's no on that one. You get very nice emails from Debbie when you're on her email list. But yeah, there is a fair exchange that happens there. And this then is what should be then continued when you're not necessarily doing things for free. So when it actually comes to the point where you're charging for your services, to have the mindset that actually you're exchanging your knowledge and your experience in the case of, say, a service-based product, like the stuff that you and I, or maybe it's something that you've built or something you've designed, or an artist, for example, like you're not paying for the 2 hours it's taken them to paint something. You're paying for the experience, the time, and everything that's gotten them to that point right now. And it's a very tricky mindset to be in, I feel personally. Like, if you can just do something in 10 minutes that might take someone else 10 hours, it's like, well, it's only taken me 10 minutes. But actually, you really have to put yourself in that position that the reason it's taking me 10 minutes is because I fucked this up so many times before. I've wasted loads of time and effort, energy and money making these mistakes.
So you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's there's a really good story with that I always think about Picasso. And he sat at a cafe in Paris, and somebody comes up and says, "Oh my God, you're Picasso. Could you just draw me a doodle on my napkin?" So Picasso says, "Yeah, sure." And he gets the napkin, he does the doodle, and it takes him seconds. And then he says, "That's £10,000 or something." And the guy's like, "What? £10,000?" And he's like, "It only took you a couple of seconds." And Picasso's like, "Yeah, but I've been drawing for like 40 years. Like, this is 40 years worth of experience and stuff that I'm putting into the drawing." And I think that we need to remember that. It's kind of like you said, if you're saving somebody time, even if it's easy for you and it's quick, you'll have spent years learning that craft. And so there's immense value to that if you're helping somebody somewhere. So we've got to remember that, haven't we? And not think it's only taking 10 minutes, so I'm only going to charge them a tenner.
I think it all comes down to the business that you're in and what you're actually selling right now, and the whole mindset of your your principles and the way that you operate. So, for example, for me personally, I will always try and give out, like when I produce content and things like that, I never hold back. It's 100%. I will generally tell you 100% of the stuff that I would tell you face to face. The difference is when I work with someone, what you have then is that what you're paying for essentially is that direct one-to-one access. Yeah. So actually you can then it's private, it's personal. You can really delve into those things. You can really get into the detail of it. So and I always say to people, it's, everything that I'm telling you now, if you watch my content and things, it's there, right? And that's the stuff that I'm trying to put out there. And this stuff is available for free. But if you personally want me to help you with it, with my experience, then that is chargeable. And that's the message that I'm trying to get out to the people that are watching this. If you've got something that's valuable, if your experience there can genuinely help people, then operating it in that manner will actually help you overcome those problems that you have, those objections, those limiting beliefs, to actually get you to charging for what you're worth. And you can start small and build up. And once it's supply and demand, right? If you're suddenly then fully booked, then your prices go up.
Yeah.
And what do you start charging? Well, just keep putting your price up till 20% of your customers leave, right? And then you get bandwidth. But essentially that's how it works.
Yeah. One of the bits of advice I give to my clients is that, when they're kind of thinking about, well, I'm charging this at the moment, or this is how much people are buying, my thing for, but actually I want to get here. But that feels like a big leap, and it's kind of scary, isn't it? Like double, tripling, your prices if you're starting off really low. My rule of thumb is every time 5 people buy it, up it by 10%. And then another 5 people buy it. And then you think, oh, they just said yes, that's great. And then you can up it by 10% again until you get to the price that you're happy at. And you're like, actually, this feels like a good exchange for my services. But to just suddenly jump the price up kind of sends people into all sorts of, mental health spins. So it's like lifting weights. I'd be a fool if I just went and lifted a massive weight in a weight training thing. I wouldn't be able to do it. But if I'd spent a few months building up to that point, I'd be able to do it. And I think it's like those small increments, those small steps that you take in your business end up being big changes. So if you do feel like you're underpricing or underselling your products or your services, just start putting them up in small increments, because you'll believe that it's worth it, because people will go, yeah, sure. I've had clients who are like, people would never pay that, but because they've gone up by like £5, £10 every couple of clients, they've got there and they feel confident in saying it's worth that when people ask them what the price is. Because if you don't feel confident and somebody says, how much is it? And you go, it's X amount, then they know that you don't believe in the value in it and they're not going to trust you. So you've got to be confident, when you're putting your prices out there as well. So just build it up slowly.
Yeah.
If you're not in a good place.
And if you're uncomfortable actually saying that amount, and that's always something that I personally, and still am, like it's still, when you actually have to say for an amount that you're charging for your time, it can get uncomfortable, but you can just practice, right? Like literally say it in front of a mirror, record yourself on camera. Nobody else has to see it but you. Yeah. And just, practice. This is what it is. I charge £20,000 an hour. Actually, it's 15,000. But whatever that amount, you can. You can have it for 12. It's a Friday.
£12,000 an hour. It's a bargain.
Again, it's a sale of the century. But it doesn't matter. It's all joking aside, if you're actually asking someone for £5 or 10 quid, it's exactly the same as whether you're asking someone for 20 grand or 50 grand, right? Like yeah, I know we're talking ridiculous numbers, which I've probably just planted seeds. Not that expensive,
Yeah,
but
and also know what the value of money is. I don't think you should charge people, I don't know, the cost of what it would cost for them to buy a house, just to work with you. Like, I'd want a lobotomy if I spent that much money working with a coach. So it's got to be grounded in some kind of reality as well, hasn't it?
And there's this thing of like the law of diminishing returns, right? Just because, if you're paying 100 quid for a coach, or 300 quid, or £1,000, or 20,000, like, it's not going to be the £20,000 an hour coach is 20,000 times better than whatever the maths are. Maths aren't my point. I did get a B now, but that was a very long time ago. There's this thing about the law of diminishing returns. So it's not proportional. So just because you've got someone that's on, oh yeah, I'm paying £2,000 for my business coach. Who are you working with? Oh, it's only a couple of hundred quid now. Well, it can't be as good as mine. That it doesn't work like that. How it does work though is that person might have built up over time and built up their following. Actually, like I was saying, been gradually putting their prices up over a period of time. So actually, the demand's there. I think with pricing in that regard, though, I think when you start to get to those sorts of levels, you can almost lose the reasons that you started doing it in the first place. If you're like, I love helping startups, to be charging that sort of money, I'm pricing myself out of doing the work that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Because people can't afford that. So either you have to then, create a package or a plan that can still service that, and maybe you have one or two of these really super high paying clients who actually genuinely need that access and experience, and they've got the budgets to do that. But if you start doing that at the expense of doing stuff that you're not enjoying anymore, then
bringing the money,
isn't it? It's like, great, yeah, I can afford a yacht, but actually, did I want a yacht in the first place?
Goes back to your values, doesn't it? Hold those values dear and build your business built on your why. Like, focus on your why and focus on your values. So we're getting to the end of this now. Shall we? Oh yeah, we don't know what we're talking about next week. Do we have it? So just join us next week and we will be talking about something. I think we can carry on this conversation and maybe talk a bit more about like really digging into what your why is and how you can make that really concrete in your business, because that helps you develop a brand, that gives you a kind of anchor as you're changing and adapting and growing your business. So you really got this deep-seated understanding of why you do what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. So we'll do that then. Well, next week we'll be talking about your why. There we go. That was easy, wasn't it?
Thank you very much for watching. See you next week.
Thanks for joining us today.
Bye.
I don't know where the end, but oh, there it is. Bye.